fixes his hair. Do you want to open the show with like a nice little swoop?
Trying.
Just look at that. Look at that. It's
so bad.
What's going to be the big celebration when this is all over? Oh, wait.
I'm waiting for you. Yo, look at this trash I'm drinking. Freaking Coors Light seltzers.
Seltzer? Any better than just Coors Light in general?
It's not. It's actually worse. It's somehow worse.
So wait, answer my question, because like your hair is a really big deal. So we need to like make it into an event when the day finally comes that like
I mean, I'm just gonna show up with
know what comes next. Are you gonna cut it all off? Like, are we gonna get
I mean, we're not going like full cut off. Like I'm gonna go back to what I always had. Like I'm gonna go back to like the short hair that I used to have. It's just way more manageable than what I need.
You could spice it up. Why don't you do something fun? Like, why don't you do something fun like cut it like Vinny did?
I love how adventurous you are with my hair. Cause
you're a guy. And if you screw something up, you could legit shave it all off and you'll still look fine.
Look at this swoop. Little swoop.
And you've got like wings in the back too.
I know. Yeah, we're going full wings on this stuff. All right. Enough about my hair.
Yeah, enough about your hair. Instead, how was your week, Matt? Anything exciting going on over there?
So tired. I'm so incredibly tired.
You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. I will say, Nightstream's Gather platform is hands down the coolest thing. And I have not spent nearly as much time in it as you have, but that is the closest thing that I've come to as far as recreating the bar environment, but at home virtually.
I mean, it's the only thing that's really recreated it. Like Zoom doesn't even like Gather is a mix of Zoom. Wait, can you share screenshots or stuff on this? Is that possible?
Yeah, text it to me and I'll try to put it in.
I have it right here, so I can text you. Yeah, so like for those that don't know what we're talking about, this Gather app that the Nightstream Film Festival used is phenomenal. And the way I keep describing it is like it's like Game Boy, like kind of like Pokemon for Game Boy meets Zoom. And I know that sounds insane, but I just texted Perri the screenshot that I took that I've been using as the example. And it's the only it's the only thing that has replicated the festival atmosphere to this point. And I've done a few, and like Fantasia Festival tried Discord, which was just a chat room. Fantastic Fest had a live chat before the movies, so like they tried to do the pre-show lobby hangout, which again, like it replicates a little bit of it, but Nightstream, like I spent until like 3 a.m. just hanging out at the bar, which was just this little 8-bit recreation of like the Nightstream environment.
Here it is, guys. This is what Nightstream looks like. But
so that's the Gather app, which number one, it exists as a free app. So anyone can start their own gather room as they're doing this. God damn it, Perri. But yeah, so anyone can use Gather. You can go on it right now and you can just make a Gather room for 25 people, and that's free. And then from there you can like pay to customize it, pay to do all these things. But like I'm gonna start using Gather instead of Zoom. Like if I'm gonna hang out with people now,
I definitely liked the environment in an intimate setting quite a bit. Like it felt like a very natural place to, recreate that feeling of being around a table and just chatting with people. Yeah. But the other thing I really liked about it that I hope is it's the big reason why I hope other festivals and conventions and other events like this adopt it, is because it gave you a real opportunity to meet new people. It legitimately recreated the feeling of walking around a bar, and when you pass somebody else's avatar, their video automatically pops up. Like the opportunity.
But only for a little bit, yeah.
Only for a little bit, but the point is their video pops up, and if you wanted to stop and talk to them, you could. It was so cool.
And you get to like relive all the social anxieties of like accidentally walking into someone's conversation and they're just like, do I know you? And you're kind of like, oh no, you don't. And like you run away, like all those things. It was so fun to do that though, again, and to feel that, God, like just to feel that awkwardness is so nice.
I know. I can't guarantee that every group of people will be as welcoming as the people at Nightstream when you talk into their conversation. Yeah. But
no, that was a festival, so that made sense. We made one for Certified Forgotten. I already made one. So we have a room that. What'd you say?
Can I come?
You can come eventually.
Okay.
Tomorrow we're kicking it off with like a little mixer of all our writers, and like we're using it as a thing of we've never met half of our writers, but we're posting their content.
Nice.
So we kind of were like, hey, do you guys want to have like a little
cool?
Yeah, so I'm like, do you guys want to have a little mixer? So we invited all our writers who we've been posting. We just gave them the option to be like, come, don't. We're opening it for an hour and a half. Come say hi. Like we want to meet some of you, and I think like Gather's going to be the next thing.
That's a really cool idea. I think it should be the next thing too. You kind of make me want to like put together a collider mixer now.
Yeah. I will gladly open it to more people. And also we're going to do, your boy Luke joined on a Patreon tier that I'm going to change. So like I haven't got him on that tier yet because we're going to use Gather now moving forward. That's going to be one of our tiers is just be we're going to plan like an hour hangout with everybody in the Patreon tier.
That's such a good idea. I might steal that idea.
Full of good ideas.
I know. You really are. I'm giving you credit tonight. And I'm giving you credit for I feel like you were responsible for a good chunk of our whole lineup for the show tonight. Kind of. Ish.
I mean, kind of ish.
Who picked the reviews actually now that I'm thinking about it. But you kind of
it's stuff we both saw.
If only everybody saw our behind the scenes planning for every single episode, it's just like a whole bunch of like nonsensical text messages.
It's chaotic texts every Thursday when Perri texts me and goes, what should we talk about? And I'm like, I don't know. What was important this week? That's it. That's our planning.
Same message every time. So what you thinking?
And I'm like, I have no idea. Text me later. I'm so busy.
All right.
And you're like, I know, me too.
What we've got on the lineup for you tonight, we're going to do some reviews up top. We're going to talk about some news stories, and we're just going to like hang out. So just so you guys know, there's no beer pong tonight. Beer pong is going to be tabled for next week because we like talking to you guys and we like talking with you guys. So this is going to be a full hour, maybe plus, of just us hanging out. So throughout the show, if you have questions or anything at all, we're really going to be digging into that chat tonight. So get the questions in. All right.
I like how you spun that versus Matt lost his partner last minute.
I didn't want to put you on the spot, and now
I don't care. That's fine.
Okay, well, all right. Well, there you go.
Why would I care about that?
Beer pong because Matt lost his partner, and Kristy will be here to say, "I'll come back next week."
Who will be here next week? And I'm ready for it.
Yeah, this is.
We do it live, dude. We just run it. This is what we do here.
All right, go. I was concerned.
You're all putting
feelings.
You see me every week. Why are you concerned about my feelings if I'm not concerned about my feelings?
I'm concerned about all of my friends' feelings. All right. Do you want to do a movie review?
We have to.
Yes, we do. Right now, we are reviewing A Babysitter's Guide to Monster Hunting. And this one is a new Netflix release, and it's about a young girl who's babysitting this little boy. The boy gets kidnapped and she has to go save him from a boogeyman, and things are super scary. You don't think she stands a chance against the boogeyman, except she finds a secret society of other babysitters who have supernatural know-how, and they can team up and take on this boogeyman together. Matt, what'd you think of this one?
So I'm evaluating this completely on the audience it's intended for, because it is not intended for anyone of our age. It is intended for children. This is a young adult, is even pushing it, we'll say, adaptation of a novel, and it is for little tykes. This is introductory gateway horror. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad thing. I think gateway horror has it should be there for anyone of any age. So I think for the age this is playing to, which is like literally like Minions aged kids, I think it's fine. I'm saying fine, not saying it's amazing. I'm saying fine as in it is serviceable intro horror that might get younger kids interested later on in the darker stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much with you on that. Admittedly, when I went in, I was hoping for a fun for the whole family type of vibe. But I think as far as meaty story aspects go and character arcs and stuff like that, it doesn't give you all that much. It's essentially, a big, pretty, bold picture with curious characters and one heck of a performance from Tom Felton that
I was going to say, you know what it gives you? It gives Tom Felton. That's what it gives you.
That might have been my favorite part of the movie. And I will say, the young ensemble in it is pretty good. I've actually been keeping an eye out for Una Lawrence ever since I was in grad school, because she was in, it was a short film there called Penny Dreadful, and it was a very big deal in the film school that I went into, and she was in it. So it was just always a name I had on the top of my mind, and it's been exciting seeing what she does, and she's super talented. And I love the lead in it too, Tamara Smart. She was great.
Yeah, no, all the little kids do exactly what they need to do. And again, they're playing children, which I'm fine with. They're being silly. They're being goofy in this atmosphere. And it's interesting to see some of the reviews be like, Babysitter's Guys is so boring because it doesn't go for scares or it doesn't do these kind of things. But that's not what you're supposed to rate a movie like this on. You're supposed to rate a movie based on what you're given. And again, this is clearly meant for young audiences. And in that regard, in the way that we kind of herald actors of the adult age for being relatable and being, who we see on screen, I kind of think like these are kids being kids. And I kind of like seeing that in this atmosphere where they're fighting these shadow monsters and doing all these, they're making potions and calling other countries and talking about how to get like ingredients. Like, it's insane. It's also kind of cute.
Yeah, no, I thought it's really sweet. I thought the whole world building aspect of it was really great. And of course it's based on a book by Joe Ballerini, and he also adapted his own book into the screenplay. And I thought the details of the world were great, but it is an interesting thing to hear that some out there are criticizing the fact that this lacks scares, because even though when I jump into any type of genre movie, I like the things I like, and that's kind of where my mind is at. But I feel like the second I spent a mere few minutes in this world, I knew that wasn't what it was. So I never felt the lack of it. I kind of had a very clear understanding of what this movie was going to be within the opening scene. And then they gave me exactly what they promised at the very beginning of the movie.
I agree with you. That's exactly my takeaway. But also, Tom Felton, just absolutely unrecognizable. So this is how I saw him. He's playing the Grand Guignol. I think that's it, like this giant sleep demon. Yeah, like this giant sleep demon who has to capture the child who is abducted and harvest his nightmares to unleash upon the world. And when I say he is loving playing this villain, he is kind of like Tom Felton impersonating Dan Stevens, trying to play Russell Brand. And it is hilarious to me.
I can kind of see touches of what you were just explaining. I know,
that's why I said it.
Give Tom Felton some serious credit, though, because I don't think it was necessarily him just like playing a shtick and having fun. I genuinely thought that was a really good performance where that character could have been, like a silly, cartoonish villain, and he just made him feel real rich and like grounded is not the right word, but he felt so true to that world where I wasn't just watching him and getting a kick necessarily out of Tom Felton playing that kind of character.
No, he's gone. You don't realize it's him. You don't realize it's him when you look at him. And that, like, he really does look like Dan Stevens a little bit. It was insane. Like, I did see that, like, looking at him, it looked like him. And he's like a transplant right out of Transylvania kind of deal. He just struts in. He's got this swagger about him. He sings at random parts. What he's doing, it works. It works.
Yeah. No, I think so. And, again, this isn't a movie that was necessarily for me. I don't even think it's for teenagers. It's definitely for the youngest of the young out there. But I'm happy a movie like this, as colorful and as positive as this exists, because I know if I were the appropriate age for it, I would totally love this. And this does seem like the kind of idea that could very easily spawn a franchise. There's more than one book, and I truly wouldn't mind watching another. Again, it is
they set up a sequel
for me, but yeah, and I wanted to see what was the next chapter of a particular element of the story too.
Well, I want to see who they cast as the person they tease at the end, because that's going to be whoever they cast for that is going to be great. I'd like to see that
too. Can I tell you a story? Or not like a story, but I was talking to the writer, Joe, and he told me, because I was asking him what's one of the biggest differences between the book and the film, and they were talking about balancing scares with making the movie family friendly. And one part that he told me about from the book that I couldn't believe is, India Moore's character, the cat lady.
The cat lady.
in the book, the cat lady apparently like is a lot darker. I forget the terminology he used, but one quality of this cat lady in the book is that she's so obsessed with her cats that she feeds herself to her cats, and that was deemed too much for the movie.
I wonder why.
When he told me that, though, like, someone needs to go and just look at my face at that part of the interview. I can't believe that was in the book.
I like it. I'm into it. I mean, go weird, get weird.
I feel like there's an R-rated adaptation where I might want to see that twisted story play out.
Well, also, we have to give credit to Rachel Talalay, who is the director, and coming from a horror background, does well balancing, is what I will say. Again, it doesn't really have scares, but you can tell that someone who's in tune with the horror genre was in charge of this, because it still has the little notes underneath, and it still has the little horror architecture that it is existing throughout. So I respect to Rachel Talalay for coming in and, you know, bringing what she knew, but also letting the childhood nature of it all still thrive.
I kind of want to watch it again because she told me that there's a Nightmare on Elm Street Easter egg somewhere in there.
I was trying to look for one. I was honestly trying to look for one.
Like, I guess there's certain touches to certain effects that might evoke like a Freddy imagery kind of thing, but
well, it's all nightmare stuff. Yeah, it's all like literally it's a movie about nightmares. So
something more specific, though, like a specific Easter egg I need to be looking for.
I bet you it's in the canisters at the end when we see some of the nightmares swirling around. I bet you there's something in there.
I don't know, but I think that alone might make me rewatch it. All right, Matt, it's Dewey time. What are you giving this out of 5 on the Dewey Decimal Movie scale?
Trace Duberts.
I like that number, and I'm stealing that number. 3 out of 5 Deweys on the Dewey Decimal Movie scale. I think the age recommendation here is what you should be paying attention to the most. It is definitely for the youngest of the young, but if you're a parent with young kids, I do think you're going to enjoy this enough if you all sit down and watch this together. And I'm glad the kiddos out there have this one. I get really excited when a movie
there's
comes
not much.
Out of it. Yeah, well, yeah, like we don't get stuff like this that often. And I the other night I was rewatching Hocus Pocus because I do that all the time. Like, every time I put on Hocus Pocus, I always feel that desire to get another family-friendly Halloween or horror movie like that, so that I could share it with my little cousins and when my niece is old enough to tolerate a full feature film.
I mean, the latest that we really have is just like Goosebumps and Goosebumps 2. And I mean, the first Goosebumps is awesome. I love the first Goosebumps. I'm not a huge fan of the second one. Yeah, second one's throwaway. It's missing Jack Black. It's missing some elements, but well, I mean, missing him in the sense. Yeah. I don't know if people have seen it. Anyway,
we'll leave it.
Anyway,
wait.
Leave it at that.
I need to do some Patreon thanks for this review.
You do
because these fine folks helped make this review happen. Avery, Corey, Craig, LK, Paul, and Andrew. Great group right there. Longtime members of the Patreon team. And they are all awesome. Thank you guys so much. Want to do another review?
I mean, do we have a choice? Yeah. Like, we're doing it.
We're doing it. All right. Next review. This one is for Love and Monsters.
It is.
This one here is a post-apocalyptic survival film, and it stars Dylan O'Brien. So 7 years after he had to go underground with this colony, he decides enough is enough. He has to kind of go out on a dangerous adventure to find his high school sweetheart, who is 85 miles away from where his colony is located. So he goes out, and he's not the best with weapons, and he doesn't do good in fighting scenarios, but that pull to find her again is strong enough that he's going to risk his life to find her. Matt, did you like it?
I did.
Yeah,
I did like it.
Feeling you would.
Yeah, this is the upgrade. This is weird. To me, it's also gateway horror, but it's an upgrade from Babysitters. So now we're going to like the YA level. So now we're on a level of, it's this weird mishmash of like Fantastic Beasts and just a straight up survival horror story. And Dylan O'Brien is just really too charismatic to not make this work. And it's largely Dylan O'Brien and a dog. And when I say that it is probably the best chemistry, the chemistry between them is better than most like actor chemistry of the year. There's a whole scene where it's like 5 minutes and it's just Dylan O'Brien talking to a dog, and it is tremendous.
Isn't that scene in particular
so incredible? Good. It's so good.
I really can't get over how good Dylan O'Brien is. It's like we've had a good deal of proof over the years, but I feel like this movie, maybe even more so than any I've seen. So I'm thinking back to something like Maze Runner, and I knew he was a lead then, but he also had a very, very strong ensemble around him. And he does here too, but I feel like this movie rests on his shoulders a lot more than that one did. And when you see what he can do, just commanding the screen and making you believe a pretty serious arc for that character. And that character starts one way and ends another, and that is a big leap to make in, like, what is this, an hour and 45 minutes or something?
Yeah,
but he manages to pull it off. And like, no joke about that dog. That dog, it's not even just about like, oh, cute dog. Like, I know,
exactly.
All that
performance-wise.
Those animal trainers, all the applause to them all day long. That might be one of the best pet performances I think I've ever seen on screen.
And when you watch it, you'll know. There's just these moments where I don't know how it's so well behaved and taking cues in the way that the slightest miscue would derail the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just little cutaways. Like, the dog is on camera the whole time.
Yeah.
And doing a great job. But I think getting past the dog aspect, which is very important, don't get me wrong. Also, the dog's fine. Just don't worry about it. The dog, you don't have to worry about anything. It's a good story for the dog. The world building I was really into. And I get nervous when things are heavy CGI and we're talking about big old monsters and things of this nature. And the creativity and the design aspects they bring to these creatures that are essentially an asteroid is destroyed by humans by nuking it to crap. And all the radiation falls back down on Earth. So all the monsters are like insects and vermin that have been altered and mutated by the radiation and basically take over the world. So you're getting giant centipedes, giant fire ants, all these crazy things that look awesome. Like, it looks visually stunning.
It did look really good. And that was another thing that caught me by surprise, because that's the type of thing that it's very easy to fall into that trap of looking totally fake, green screen backgrounds, all that nonsense that just like takes you out of the movie. But I feel like the overall style of the film, and especially the pops of color that are infused throughout the entire thing, just lent itself to making those visuals work really well too. And the design of those creatures in general, they were just, they were truly fun to look at and fun to learn about. And I like the conversations about them too. And this kind of paves the way to some of the supporting cast here. So there's a bit that I loved the most with Ariana Greenblatt and Michael Rooker. And it's very Zombieland. But I think they're purposely playing into it very, very heavily. And I do think that Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenblatt, by the way, she gonna blow up. Watch her. She's very, very good. I also said a similar thing about her after seeing the one and only Ivan. She's very good and very naturally talented. But the two of them and their back and forth, and then when you add Dylan O'Brien to the mix, I could have watched an entire feature film with the three of them. But I do understand why it was important for Joel to have his own journey to a degree.
Here's my only wishy-washy point. I feel like there aren't that many stakes in this film. I feel like we always know Joel's going to be okay in every scene. They do nothing to make me think that Joel is in danger, even though he is encountering monsters and having to fight them. So to me, it's very quick the way, just to that point, Michael Rooker and Greenblatt come in and then exits like just as quickly. Like, they're literally just there to deliver exposition and give Joel what he needs to continue. And then they're gone. There's like, I didn't feel a super strong chemistry connection on the level that it works in the story versus like they're great on screen together. It just, everything for me moves really quickly, and it moves in a way that you just know where it's going. So I never felt the danger of it, which is why it's like gateway to me. It never gets to the point where you feel the fierceness of anything. You're just kind of living in this world. It's like you're more passing through than trespassing.
Okay. I'm kind of with you on some of it. With as far as their chemistry goes, I felt that. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a point of their interaction where like I felt that concern about not getting more of them, and it played very well. As far as the danger level goes, I do understand that. I think that they raise the stakes with an earlier scene in the movie to show that this threat is real, and it is borderline terrifying. There's a couple of visuals in the first act that really kind of burrowed into my brain, and I didn't forget them. But I definitely didn't think that Joel was gonna die.
but it just takes a little bit away from me.
I think that's the nature of the movie, but I also think that I was more engrossed with Joel's journey as an individual than I was with his survival, which I think ultimately might have been the point.
It is. No, it is. I understand that's the point. I just feel like that's a detraction of the film itself. I just feel like there are moments where I just don't feel as invested as I should be in these moments that I know should be like getting a rise out of me, but at the same time, it's just kind of a wishy-washy monster. Oh, there's a monster. We know Joel's going to get out of this, whatever. Mm-hmm. But still, I agree with you because also this one was co-written by Brian Duffield, correct?
Yes, it was. We are Brian Duffield fans over here.
Exactly. Well, and I'm going to tie it to Spontaneous because what he's done twice this year is take a story that is definitely on the darker side, but it's about finding hope in that. So Spontaneous is very much, we already talked about that. It's about finding hope in literally the inevitable. And I think Love and Monsters is about finding hope in the fact that kind of also the same, like people move on, people do these things where life isn't always going to be the same. And he's very good at that. I'm very happy that Duffield has done it. I just think like in Spontaneous, he found graver stakes, where Love and Monsters, he's kind of just like, all right, we're just going to be hopeful all the time. And that's fine. I just don't think it serves the story as well as it did in Spontaneous.
That's a very reasonable comparison. I definitely felt the threat of potential immediate death in Spontaneous far more than I did in Love and Monsters. And I think that designation suits both films well.
Yeah.
Dewey Decimal Movie time. Dewey Decimal Movie scale time. I will go first, and I will wait, I didn't see what you did.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going 4 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimal Movie scale.
Wow. Okay.
I really enjoyed myself. Like I feel like I needed this kind of adventure. I needed this kind of like visual stimulation and distraction and color and creativity. My favorite F word. I had fun with it. I watched it twice, actually. I watched my screener twice.
You find time to watch things twice now.
There was a reason I watched this.
Okay.
Usually when I do long form interviews, I will find the time to watch things more than once so I could watch it for the enjoyment and for review purposes, so I can like jot all my thoughts down, and then I'll watch it again with like the interviewing eye to pick apart, scenes that I really want to dissect and ask more about.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Wait, so now wait, was it a 3?
It was. I'm going 3 again. I think it's good. It's good for what it does. The stakes for me were a little wishy-washy on that. So that's the only thing that really knocked it down a little bit tighter. And that probably would have been like a 3.5 or 4.
All right. Well, there you guys go. That is our Love and Monsters review. And that review was brought to you by one of the coolest people out there. It's Billy. Billy, the king of puns. Billy.
No, Billy.
Billy just makes me laugh on a friggin' regular basis with those puns. I can't get enough of it. So Billy, thank you for your support. That is our review of Love and Monsters. Next up is news.
Talk about things. Things are happening.
Where are we starting? Are we starting with our title topic?
Yeah, let's do the obvious, the Furiosa stuff. I want to start just by asking you. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was already in that role. Am I incorrect in thinking that? I thought that was...
I think this rumor has been circulating for quite some time. I think we had a good sense of who was actually going to get cast in that, and I think this was just the official announcement finally.
Okay, because it got announced. Like I know other people got announced, which was like the bigger part, but like I saw Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm like, I thought we knew that already. Okay, but like it's cool. Confirmed. I'm into it.
This just made it the real deal. So in addition to and it's Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy. Nobody says it right, and then I'm always the asshole being like, it's Anya. No, but it's Anya.
When I go to meet Anya Taylor-Joy the first time and I say it right the first time, like I'm going to look better than everyone else.
You know how I feel about mispronouncing names. It eats away at me.
I know.
Do you know about my most recent one? And like my heart almost withered away after I did it.
Which one?
So I have been saying Kyle Gallner for years.
Gallner?
I've been saying Gallner ever since I saw Jennifer's Body, and I swear I have been saying it that way. Then I heard other people in recent years say Gallner, and I just always automatically assume that I'm wrong, and I adopted that. And then when we did our witching hour for Dinner in America, I said Gallner, and I'm like, no. Like he corrected me on the spot too, and I'm like, why don't
I knew it?
Why don't I ever trust myself?
So I'd always heard Gallner. I haven't interviewed him yet, but I've always heard Gallner, so it's Gallner. Okay, because that's how I want to say it. But,
yeah. Right. Speaking of which, let's cast Kyle Gallner and everything. Put him in.
So good, honestly, so good.
He's so good. I'm obsessed with Dinner in America too. But anyway,
Dinner in America is amazing.
It's so good. I want that to get a distribution deal and get announced, and I want to be able to share that with all you guys.
I feel like that's going to be like, why do I feel like that's going to be an IFC movie? I don't know why. That's going to be my prediction. IFC or Neon? IFC or Neon?
Seems like a Neon movie to me.
Could be Neon.
Look who's here today. Brienne. Hi. I miss you. Thank you. Dinner in America needs to come out, and everybody needs to see it. Kyle and Emily.
Punk rock love story.
So good.
Everything I want.
And I feel like Adam would be a good person to try to badger to play beer pong with us.
I'm okay with that. I would be very okay with that.
I kind of want to try to make that happen now, but that is a discussion for another time. Furiosa.
I mean, Hemsworth and Mr.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah.
I like them both quite a bit. I think this is a great ensemble. The one that I'm most concerned about, as much as I love her, is Anya Taylor-Joy taking over the role for Charlize Theron. That's not an easy thing to do. Like, not only is that not an easy thing to do as far as following in the footsteps of someone who does that role and does it so well, but on top of that, I feel like prequels have their work cut out for them. We know what Furiosa's headspace is in Mad Max Fury Road. We know the end game. So how are you going to give me a story that is satisfying in and of itself, but paves the way to, a darker point like that? I think there is a lot to mine in that time period as far as her putting her situation together and carving that out in smaller increments. Yeah. But I do think it's far easier to tell a story at the very start of you being aware of that character and not knowing where she's going.
I'm not worried, just because I really think she's a phenomenal actress and everything we've seen her do. I mean, she's done the dark stuff. We know she can do the dark stuff, and that's fine with it. She can go in the mental health space. I mean, she had to battle James McAvoy doing that whole creepy. So I'm very okay with everything she has to tackle. Hemsworth, I'm not worried at all. I was super stoked on Hemsworth. Like, he loves the fact that he's in this movie, just being like the whole Australian thing. And like, it's just so funny to hear his exact quote was, as my notes are loading, "I'll do my best to continue the tradition of cinematic badassery." Like, he's gonna own this so hard. I'm very happy with it. Every one of them, like every single one of those casted names, there's no reason to doubt any of them.
I think in Jeff's article on Collider, there was some character information too, just in case you want to know. So Jeff writes, Hemsworth is expected to appear with a long silver scar on his face as a character named Dementus, while Abdul-Mateen will likely be playing Praetorian. And that's all he has on that one. But I
was gonna say Cinema Blend was the one I read, and they didn't have it. They said there was nothing on the characters yet. So I think Jeff even mentions this in his article, just so I could give him a little more credit here. Yeah, he wrote in his article, their castings were first mentioned months ago as part of the Rumor of the Week segment on his podcast, The Snyder Cut. So I was very well aware of it a while ago because of Jeff. So kudos to Jeff and this getting confirmed now. And, this ensemble just makes me even more excited for a movie I was already hopeful about before. I freaking love Mad Max Fury Road. It was my #1 movie of 2015. Yeah, again, like I don't know what else there is to say. Then this is all good. These are all good things. Like all good things are happening for once in 2020. So I'm just on it. I'm into it.
I'm very eager to hear more about the story. I think that's the thing that I'm waiting for more so than anything right now.
Yeah, everyone in the chat right now is basically saying Hemsworth the villain, and I want that. I want Hemsworth to be the villain here. Let him go bonkers. Let him go just full bore into it. I think he can have fun with being some real savage badass of the wasteland.
Has he ever played a villain?
Do we count Ghostbusters?
Yeah, no, I wasn't really that's not like
bad times.
Sink your teeth into like a meaty villain character. What did you
Bad times at El Royale.
Oh, holy shit. That is actually not necessarily a copy paste of that character, but I feel like there are elements of that character that could be a Mad Max world style villain.
Let him be the charismatic cult leader of the Mad Max world. Yeah, let him do that.
All right. I'm very, very into this. That makes me even now that you connected the dots to Bad Times at the El Royale, I'm even more excited.
And I mean, Yahya, let him be the good guy. Like he again will slay that role. So I everywhere around that, just Yahya and Anya versus crazy bastard Hemsworth. That's all I want.
I'm assuming this is going to have a very big ensemble too, because
these are the first three names. We have to assume it's going to be pretty built out.
Even though we had our stars in Mad Max Fury Road, I feel like even some of the smallest roles made a huge impression. So I'm looking forward to seeing them do that again.
Well, how far can it go back? If it's a younger Furiosa, does that really give us the opportunity to meet that many of them?
That many of who?
Like any of the recurring, you're saying?
You mean younger versions of the other characters?
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing that. I just mean the size of the ensemble.
Okay. The size of the ensemble. Yeah.
Even the smallest roles of Fury Road made. I would not necessarily, because Furiosa's crew that we meet deep in the desert, I feel like there's opportunity for them to come back.
Yeah, they're going to be there.
But like even them, they're like teeny tiny. I mean, it's like if it's the stars of the movie, the supporting characters, and then they're not really cameo, but just to paint the picture here, I feel like that mid-range and up, don't touch those characters, but those other ones that speak to Furiosa's backstory are fair game.
They're fair. They're very fair game. I think that's going to be important too. I think they'll play a part in all this pretty heavily.
I am so psyched for this.
Again, there's no reason not to be psyched for it. And also, I agree with Songbird. Let's get a young doof warrior. Let's get little doof warrior.
Where are we? I don't see it. Oh,
it's the last one. I just want a little doof warrior.
Oh, doof warrior,
or that too. Yeah.
I'm all for that as well.
Bring back the flamethrower guitar.
I would never say no to that. That's quite the visual. It's quite the shot there.
Who would say no to that? Who amongst
Someone
us?
I wouldn't be friends with.
Absolutely not.
All right, what's our next story, Matt? I feel like you might have.
Do we want to? Well, I proposed some. I'm just saying, do we want to do the Mandalorian one just to be like, I don't know, like what news there is now. Just the fact that there could be a Mandalorian movie, and cool, they want to do a whole. They tease that they want to do like a Mandalorian inspired Star Wars universe. So as they're doing more Star Wars stuff, basically taking the characters we meet in the Mandalorian who are again off the beaten path than normal Star Wars and allowing them to live in their own universe within Star Wars. So some of the side movies and whatnot could spin off from it. And they basically said, of course, the Mandalorian could be one of them, but cool. Like, it's just a continuation to me. I don't think it's anything special. It's just cool. Instead of getting a season, we're going to get a movie.
Yeah. I don't know. When it comes to predicting Star Wars feature films, I feel like my mentality ever since the latest trilogy is like, pull the reins, take your time, think things through. Yeah. Don't over promise too soon. And that's my same mentality with this. I love season 1 of The Mandalorian, but hold on a sec. Let me get season 2. Let me see what potential path you carve out for future stories, whether it's on the big screen or small. And also, let's figure what the heck is going on with this industry right now.
Yeah, and that's what both Pedro and Jon Favreau basically said in that interview, or they both have quotes in that article, and it's kind of the same what you're saying. Listen, it'd be great to do all this right now, but how we have to film right now, Favreau, I think, was saying how they're basically filming with these giant digital screens to recreate landscapes and whatnot, because you can't do anything.
Well, they've done a good deal of that earlier on,
too. Yeah. So they have ways to get around it, and it's just the larger idea of, okay, if we get to a season 3 and we're doing all these things, a movie might be inevitable.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Just if anyone wants to hear the quote, he's saying this is about shooting season 3, I guess. We're in very small situations, and oftentimes we have a lot of characters in masks, and we also have a lot of digital work that augments things. So we're a show that's probably well equipped to be flexible based on the protocols that are emerging surrounding work restarting. So they're in good shape to get back to it and keep it safe. I'm trying to get to the part where they talk about the movie.
There's like one little throwaway line. It's like the headline.
I was going to say that the headline, I think, blows that portion of the quotes a little out of proportion.
There's no plans. It's just talk. It's talk of this could happen.
I'm doing like a fine for the word movie now, and the line is blurred. Wait. All right, I'm gonna backtrack here. So they're talking about the first Disney Plus series produced by Marvel
Studios. They get a drink while you do this.
Is due to premiere later on, with more to follow in 2021. And I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. Kevin Feige has said that their storylines will intertwine with the Marvel Studios theatrical features. Could the same happen with The Mandalorian? And then Favreau says the line is blurring now. Things that you would have only seen in the movie theater, you're seeing on streaming. And I think it could go the other way as well. Whether that means Pascal's tight-lipped bounty hunter could end up on a movie screen remains a tantalizing, if uncertain, possibility. Favreau says he's in no rush to push the show beyond a streaming series, but we're definitely open to it, he added, and excited to see where the story leads us and have that flexibility because there's no rule book. That, as someone who's part of the creative, brain trust behind the show, that's what he should be saying. You don't ever want to box yourself in and say, like, we're never going to do a movie. We're only going to do streaming. No.
Then all of a sudden, Lucasfilms throws millions of dollars at you and go, guess what? We're doing a movie now. Great.
I don't.
Do the movie. Oh, screw it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying.
I don't think there would be anything wrong with it. I think the Star Wars universe is incredibly rich and could tap into story. Like, you could do stories within that universe all day long. I mean, the second you move away from the Skywalker saga, like, literally the possibilities are endless. You can do whatever you want for however long you want. I'm thinking more in line with what Disney is doing as a company overall, and it feels like the pendulum is shifting very heavily in the direction of Disney Plus. And I just don't see them in the very near future greenlighting anything new and major for the big screen when the future of the big screen is so uncertain. And, the other article that we're going to tap into soon focuses on this a little bit, but what did that article say? That Disney runs like half the market? They're going to be the ones going forward who can kind of dictate what happens with the distribution end of the industry and theater chains and whether or not they survive. And the fact that Disney can lean so heavily on Disney Plus when other streaming services don't have that same exact luxury and don't have a same size chunk of the pie carved out, I don't know. I feel like the ball's in Disney's court more so than it is any other company to basically determine the shape of the industry after the pandemic.
If they just straight up said, screw it, we're just going to release everything on D+, theaters are screwed. Like as much as they are already, if Disney just does whatever they want, theaters are never going to come back. That's just where it is.
I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think it will either. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying with the market share that Disney holds, if Disney plays that card, everything tumbles down.
I don't entirely trust Disney in this scenario, but based on that other article you sent me, it's like if Disney opted to go, I mean, they can't even do that because they can't do this with a Star Wars film franchise movie or a Marvel. Clearly, they're not budging with Marvel movies.
No,
but I do think that them only releasing the biggest of the big in theaters will dictate the kind of movies that we get in theaters moving forward.
Yeah.
But then you look at companies like it was Universal, and what was the other company that was highlighted?
Why are we dancing around what we're talking about?
I don't know.
Move to the next topic. You keep saying like, okay.
Now.
So I have the notes that I need right here. The next thing we'll talk about.
Notes so I can get another beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So the next thing we're talking about is I know we keep talking about theaters, and it's just impossible not to because things keep coming out, and it's impossible not to talk about the state of theaters in this pandemic era. But the newest things that have come out is a lot of analysts were predicting if studios such as Warner Brothers and Disney and Universal would swoop in and try to, whether that's save or take over theater chains and try to give them money or something of that nature. And some quotes from the higher ups at WB and Universal basically said, yeah, no, we're not going to do any of that. We hope that theaters pull through, and we hope that there's a future for theatrical screenings. And the exact quote, I think it was from the Universal CEO, is, "We're big fans of the exhibitors. They've been good partners of ours for many decades. We're rooting for them. I know it's tough sledding right now. I'm hoping they come out the other side probably even stronger." Like, none of that is super... I don't know. I kind of just feel like Universal and all these companies are sitting there just going, well, if they die, they die. And like, that's a little scary. It's a little scary in the way that they seem so hands off, just like, if theaters die, they die. If they don't, they don't. Like, almost like they have another plan already.
That was a lot to walk in on.
I'm like, the thing is that the quote from the CEO is kind of just like, yeah, like, it's the equivalent of thoughts and prayers for the movie industry. And I don't mean that as a joke. I'm actually meaning that as a direct like correlation. It's the equivalent of someone going, "Oh, I hope they get through. I hope everything's fine." And it like, that is a little scary now. Like, that's a little scary just for Universal to be like, "I hope we have a place to show our major blockbusters."
It's scary, no doubt. But on the other hand, I almost respect the gray area-ness of it. I feel like any leader in one of these companies that speaks with any like definitive nature to what they're predicting or what their plans are going forward, I don't trust that person because they have no freaking clue what's going to happen. Like, nobody really knows unless one of those individuals is part of a behind-the-scenes deal to actually acquire a company, a theater chain. And they're not, I don't think they're going to release that kind of information now. And I don't necessarily believe any of the individuals that are part of that article are actually having active conversations like that.
No, I don't think they are. Again, that's Universal and WB. We're not even talking Disney at this point. Like, who are still major players. Do not get me wrong. Universal and WB are gigantic players, but the Amazons are the ones that can swoop in and take a theater chain. Like, they're the ones that
I on that much more. Like, I would be shocked if Amazon didn't wind up with one of the major theater chains at this point.
Yeah, I think AMC is the one that's going to be hurt the most. They're trying, so like that's the thing to watch now. AMC is not closing where Regal is, so Regal Cinema's kaput right now. They're taking their losses and saying we're closing, screw it. And AMC is trying to find ways around it. So AMC, their latest is, I think, $99. A group of 20 can rent a group up to 20 can rent an AMC theater, and you can show whatever movie. And the Alamo's trying that for $150. I don't think that's going to be enough to save.
Oh, I don't think that's going to be enough to save by any means. I think that's just like the tiniest bit of revenue trickling in. And meanwhile, in certain states, that's not even an option for some of these chains. They're just shuttered, and that's it.
Los Angeles, New York. Yeah, I should say the AMC theaters that are doing the $99 rent our theater are just Virginia and Maryland. So that's 2 states. It's 2 states they're trying it at to see if it works. Oh man. Oh boy. I don't know what to do here because we've talked about this exhaustively last week. We have our full thoughts on that, but it just keeps getting a little weirder and a little weirder by the day.
And to be fair, we're going to keep talking about this. This is a pretty big issue that's changing every single week, and also basically shifting our entire industry and defining the future of it as we speak. It's a very important kind of situation to analyze and break down as it all moves forward. But I feel like the only way I can maintain a sense of sanity through all of this, like my approach has been interview tunnel vision.
Yeah, no, my approach has been review tunnel vision. I've been reviewing movies like crazy.
Yeah,
and it's like, in my mind, it's like, great, I'm reviewing so many movies, everything's fine. And like, no, it's not. Everything's not fine.
I know. I'm very, very prone to thinking about like big picture things, like not having any movie theaters right before I go to bed and then just not sleeping because of it. But other than that, it's like if I could keep my focus on the new releases that we are getting right now that I'm super passionate about and be excited about these conversations that I'm lucky enough to get to have, like I'm gonna go in that direction and just stay in that little zone that I've carved out until something changes for the better.
I was going to say 3 things. The first thing I'm going to say is the one thing being a horror fan that's come out of all this is there has been no shortage of horror this year at all.
Oh my God, no.
And in October alone, we have 40 plus movies, not counting TV. And the fact that like, I like what's happening right now, not in the world, but people are starting to realize that all these horror movies that were slated anyway, that were coming out anyway, and that always come out on VOD, they don't have that stigma that people think. Like people are realizing that these indie horror movies might, actually not be the worst.
I just gave away your beautiful transition in the most unsubtle way. Like you were teeing up something you wanted to bring up. No?
What was I bringing up?
You literally just made a comment about generalizations regarding the horror genre.
Oh, no, we can get to that. No. We can get to that.
I thought you were doing that, and then I like blew up your spot by being like, oh.
No, don't worry. That'll be next. No, I'm actually legitimately like, people on my Twitter feed and social media feeds are talking about these under the radar horror movies that are no longer under the radar. And people are like, oh shit, like these movies are still good. And I'm happy, again, not for what's happening, but people are starting to realize that VOD is always a viable option, and especially in the horror community.
Matt, you need to get yourself a screener of His House, please.
They won't give it to me yet. They're only giving it out for interviews. I will get it as soon as I can. Trust me. I'm already on that and come play. I'm like hounding the reps for those.
Okay. We know about, come play with that on our radar. Dewey's like, I wish I could show you guys. He's got his head right in the center of my ring light right now, and it's beautiful, but I can't take a photo of him.
And then wait, hold on. There were two comments.
He's here. He's here.
There were 2 I wanted to come up really quick. T-Money35 said, did Regal officially call it quits, or did they slide into dormancy? They have slid into dormancy. They didn't call it quits. They just realized that there's no reason to be open right now, so they've just shuttered theaters. They're not going to try to press forward with whatever they have at this point. So Regal is taking their lumps, and they're just going to try to come out when they can come out. The other one is Mr. Lassane with itself. Yeah. I was going to say, and then right above that, Mr. Lassane, it's selfish, but I'm only really worried about the Alamo. And I think you should be worried about the Alamo. I think the Alamo is the one theater chain that probably will not come out of this. That's just because we have to think about the indie chains. They have to do more to make the money. They don't have the backing of these AMCs and Regals and whatnot. I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And
I think they're going to be in trouble. I definitely can't lessen the severity of that. But I actually feel like because the Alamo is a smaller chain, that someone might swoop in and buy them out, and that someone could potentially be someone who really respects their goals as a business and the vibe that they've created in their theaters.
Also, they're employers, but they're employees.
Well, that is the hope there. I mean, that's one of the top priority hopes with all of this. I know. I'm just, I agree with you. But I agree with like the swoop on the Alamo. Rely on these jobs to make a living and feed themselves and keep roofs over their heads, and that's what's more important than anything here.
I know. I'm just talking about the random reports that keep coming out, but I think the Alamo is probably in a lot of trouble. Just again, they're indie. It's just the nature of the beast. They just don't have the capital and backing that these other corporations have. But that is a good point. I think that's a great opportunity for an investor to come in and just be like, yeah, no, I'll keep this alive. Also, I think they have a franchisee thing set up where it's not all under them. I think they franchise out locations. So that's better for them. It's a better thing than them owning everything, because New York, like I keep saying, they were popping up like crazy when I left, like Brooklyn to Staten Island to, like, they just kept, and they're going to do a Manhattan one.
Right when I left.
Yeah, Brooklyn opened right when you left. And again, Manhattan and Staten Island were coming up as I was doing it. So like their expansion was crazy. But
Manhattan was a very big deal when I was still in grad school, and they were opening up that Manhattan location right near
they couldn't.
School, and then they didn't do it, and I was very sad. Because I'm thinking about grad school. Can I tell you something really cool that I got to do recently that made me happy? You know how my thesis project in grad school starred Betsy Brandt?
Yeah.
She's one of my upcoming guests on Collider Ladies Night.
Oh, that's dope.
And
that's awesome.
She made me really happy. She's just super cool and super nice and really cares about her work and her craft. And that makes her a perfect guest on Ladies Night. So shameless plug. Keep an eye out for that full episode and some clips from it leading up to the full episode.
Are we not doing our job if we're not plugging shamelessly?
I guess so. I don't, but like part of it, like I feel like this might be true of everybody out there, but part of it isn't just me plugging my work. Like it's plugging what they say that I care so much about.
Yeah, you do interviews. I mean, like you're promoting the people as much as, and I'm not saying promoting in the way that like that's your job, but like you are promoting people when you do those.
I feel like I could explode with feelings when someone expresses something about their passion about acting and making movies that really touches me.
Yeah.
No, I'm like dead serious, so I'm not kidding.
On that note, should we transition into my fun topic that I brought up?
Yeah,
let's talk about, because
while Dewey plays with his really creepy Bly Manor doll.
That's fine.
It's freaking me out.
I'm just going to read the whole. It's a little quote here. I'm just going to read it, and then we'll react to it as a group. This is going to be a group therapy thing, and we're all going to have different thoughts on how he has said this thing. Okay. But Mr. Jason Blum is back at it with his hot takes, and he has recently been interviewed about Welcome to the Blumhouse, and the context of this quote is basically the state of horror. You know, like what are we trying to do these days, and you know, why does some horror fail and some horror rise to the top? So his response: I always look at horror as dramas with scary elements, as opposed to those executives who don't like horror. They look at it as killing people with some story stuck in between the kills. That's why so much of horror is bad, Blum explains. You've got to look at it the other way. Does the movie work as a drama if you took out the violence or took out the genre elements? It's a litmus test. We put most of our movies through that. So here is my feelings on this. And I bring this up because when he says things such as, I always look at horror as the dramas with scary elements, as opposed to those executives who don't like horror, they look at it as killing people with some story stuck in between. That's why so much of horror is bad. I don't like that's why so much of horror is bad. And I don't like it because he is, number one, promoting his product, and he has now just said the way we do things at Blumhouse is a step above everyone else, and no one else out there is putting out what we're putting out in terms of putting out dramas with horror stuck in between. That's why Blumhouse is better. Fuck you, number one, no. Just look at your output. I don't know how else I have to say that. Number two, you are completely discrediting how many horror movies that we have seen this year alone that are doing exactly that, Mr. Blum. Yeah. Do your homework before you say these generic blanket statements, because people like me can easily poke holes in them, and people like me get offended because the Relics, the La Lloronas, the Sputniks, there have been countless movies this year that do exactly that. But by you saying that's why so much of horror is bad, I know what you're trying to get at. That's why so much of mainstream horror isn't about what Blumhouse is trying to do. But what about everything else? You have now boiled horror down to just mainstream horror. Meanwhile, there are countless titles hitting VOD, as I've already alluded to, and independent horror that you have just basically invalidated. You have discredited everything they've done. You have made horror just about mainstream. Fuck all of that.
All right, before I launch into my thoughts on the matter, the main issue you take with Blum's statement is the generalization at the end that this is why most horror doesn't work.
I agree with this statement that very good horror takes care of character development and they take care of the story, and it's not about just the kills. That is correct. I agree with the fact that to make a good horror movie, all that has to be there. But I don't disagree with the fact, yes, I take issue with the fact that he is not counting so many films. And again, he's selling his product. He is saying Blumhouse did it.
It's the generalization.
Yes, it's the generalization. Yes.
I would agree. I would agree with the point that actually I take this back. I don't necessarily always agree with this because sometimes I do like the kind of, I mean, you guys know how I feel about slasher movies. I do like that crazy pick 'em off horror vibe where sometimes it's just about the kill set piece and getting from one to the other. I think some movies do call for that and then justify it. So I don't think that's always a bad thing. But I do prefer horror movies that put the drama, as he puts it, first and make sure that there's a substantial story with character growth and arc and chemistry that then further supports those bigger kill set pieces, if you want to just narrow it down to describing them as that. It's the generalization is not the greatest thing to say as someone who's part of the industry, but I don't know. I think I didn't take that as seriously because it was a small part of a whole comment that I understood, but I don't appreciate someone who's such a big name in the genre throwing so many other productions under the bus by making a statement like that.
Exactly the other part of my point. This is Jason Blum. This is the man that's trying to take over modern horror. This is the guy who has his name on, look at every horror property. I'm not even going to say movie, because if you go on a Hulu, Into the Dark, it's all in Blumhouse's name. Go on Amazon, Welcome to the Blumhouse is everywhere. Blumhouse is going on, like, they're going on cable. They're doing everything. So he's trying to take over the horror sphere. And by him again saying that's why there's so much bad horror. What about the Benson and Moorheads? What about like all of these people out there that they're doing their thing and they're doing exactly what he says and they're doing it better than Blumhouse? I don't take it. I don't stand for that shit.
I very much admire Blumhouse and what they've done for genre in the mainstream. And I think there's a number of movies that are excellent. So just
he's a brilliant businessman. He's a brilliant businessman. I'm not getting me wrong.
For one of my critics organizations, I was revisiting my best of 2020 list, and truly, The Invisible Man is still very close to the top of my list, even when you include all of the streaming releases. That is a phenomenal movie. But I can't say the same for, let's say, A Fantasy Island. So if you're going to make a broad generalization like that, put your money where your mouth is overall and make sure you don't fall into the same trap that you're advising others against.
So here's another, and I want to call out, I'm not calling out a commenter right now. This is not my intention. I'm fine with comments.
Did I put this up on the screen or not?
You can do it if you want. It says, I think it's unfair to nitpick his point. I assume it was a casual comment.
Oh, it's Rick. Yeah, no,
so, I am not attacking a person here. I am not attacking Rick. Rick, I'm not attacking you because this is a valid point. It's a casual comment, probably in an interview. My issue with it being
I think I'm in line with what Rick is saying, which is why I'm not getting as much of a rise out of the comment, because I know it was just like a quote given in an interview, and maybe someone of his status in the genre should have thought it through more clearly and thoroughly before saying something like that.
How long has Blum been doing interviews? How long has Blum been doing this? A casual comment.
It feels like it's blowing it out of proportion to me.
But a casual comment means that he's not thinking about what he's saying. He's just saying exactly what he feels. I'm sorry. This is how I take it. A casual comment, you are trained on interviews as a person in Blum's status. Also, you talk to how many other people in the horror industry, none of them would say that. I don't know. Why is no one else saying it but the people outside the horror industry who would support things like elevated horror? The only times I've heard that crap are when people that don't aren't in the industry.
That conversation gets me a little crazy, but
who's saying things like that?
I understand why you're so fiery about it, but I'm also very much in Rick's camp where, like, I think
I'm not mad at Rick. I'm not mad at Rick.
A lot of these interviews that I've been doing recently, because the way that process works is I conduct the interview. I hate on myself because I said everything wrong during the interview. Then I go over the interview to give Thad notes to edit it. And then I have to watch it again to QC it. And then I watch it again to time code it so that everyone has a time code so they can jump around. But the point being is I listen to the garbage that I casually say in these interviews all the time, and I nitpick my words nonstop, and it makes me think of these poor people who get grilled nonstop, and all you need is just like the wrong order of words this one time, and sometimes there's no excuse for saying something super stupid, but sometimes it's just something that came out in an interview and you got to brush it off. I don't know.
I know.
Circumstances. Some people should never be let off the hook for certain incredibly terrible things that they've said. But in other instances, sometimes it's just misspeaking in the moment and not fully understanding the weight and the generalization of the point you're making.
Horror already has a stigma.
I know.
He's Mr. Horror. He's the guy that wants to take over the whole genre. So to me, you have to know a little bit what's going on. You have to know that a statement like what you just said is probably not true. I know maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. That's fine. That's why I led with saying I get fiery about stuff like this because I have to hear this all the time.
You know what?
Now the call. Wait, hold on. Now the call is coming from inside the house. Like literally, the call is coming from inside the house, and it's someone saying, I'm trying to take over the genre, but also everyone else is doing shit.
The call is also coming from, as you put it, a businessman who is in competition with
I know. That's why I said that. He's a brilliant businessman.
I do very much admire Blumhouse's respect for genre in addition to putting their business first, which as a business, you need to do that. So I think that's all at play here. But the point I was going to go for, so you just brought up the stigma against horror, and it really upset me hearing that from Victoria Pedretti regarding Hill House. We were talking, and I was asking her if the basically her rise to stardom was as quick as it felt, and if Hill House immediately blew open the doors and got her all this notoriety and everything. And this might speak to how much of a bubble we're in, but she brought up the point that she didn't think that happened for that cast quite like it would have had it not been a genre project. And from my limited perspective, Hill House is widely beloved. Hill House amassed a majorly obsessive fandom, and every single member of that ensemble deserves every opportunity they could possibly get their hands on. Yeah. But apparently it didn't quite feel that way. And I can understand why you can make the connection to, horror not being as widely accepted as other genres. I mean that's a perfect example of an incredibly deep, poignant story being told within the horror framework. And I understand why it might get brushed off because of that, unfairly, though.
Also, streaming playing against it, which, again, unfairly. When you look at it, it's both two stupid stigmas. That's two stupid stigmas that we have to shake. I mean, again, that's why I get fiery about the independent VOD stigma, where everyone looks at it like, oh, if it's not in theaters, it's of a lesser quality. It's not really anymore. It was for a little bit. Do not get me wrong. It was for a little bit. But nowadays, it just doesn't make sense for some movies to go to theaters. They don't want to pay the theater fees. They don't want to pay the marketing fees. They can go to VOD, and half my top 10, top 20 is VOD titles that never really went to theaters. And
sometimes it's beneficial to go to VOD too. It's the one that I keep thinking about recently is I think two, actually. I think Kajillionaire and the Broken Hearts Gallery would have amassed pretty significant viewership very early on, but instead it was just insisted that they get theatrical releases at the worst possible time imaginable. But
it's contractual.
those were the kinds of movies that really could have caught on. And I really do think, in particular, Broken Hearts Gallery, I mean, that was a hugely charming, very successful romantic comedy. And I mean, who was going to go and like risk whatever or drive to a drive-through to go see that? I understand why no one would see it in that format, but if it had been available on PVOD right out the gate, then I think it would have done well.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the Synchronica, Benson, Moorhead, and Lawson, that was a contract. They had no choice. I mean, some of these things, they're just out of this realm. We can't help it. They're just going to have to go to theaters, and well, now theaters aren't even open somewhere, so I think that will alter things. But yeah, I'm sorry if I got fired up there. It's just
you're allowed to. You're allowed to.
I know. I know they're flippant, offhanded comments, but those are the things that people keep remembering, and that's why they matter a little bit. I know he made a casual, offhanded comment, but people keep making that same casual, offhanded comment, and that's how it stays alive in people's vocabulary. That's the only way it continues.
That's fair. I mean, that's just, the idea of a leader in an industry reiterating a familiar comment, and because of that, I see the super chat. Because of that, it could make somebody else feel okay about repeating the same thing, and before you know it, that comment is like
that. All that comment does is perpetuate. All that comment
thing
does is continue an idea, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I hear you. Super chat. Caleb is here. Prayers for Dad. That was the saddest thing I've ever seen, by the way. I'll put that back up there. I was watching that Cowboys game, and he had just had that incredible play where he caught a touchdown pass, and just a little while later, just like watching the clip where he gets injured, but even more so, it was a clip that I saw circulating Twitter after of like him with tears in his eyes being driven off of the field. I really, like, I get sad for every single player that has an injury, because I'm like very sensitive to the idea of having an injury and then having like your thing taken away from you, like it is when a football player gets hurt. But that clip brought me to tears.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, I feel terrible. I really do. But you guys know what happens when Caleb comments. That means you get your fantasy football update from our Critics League. And I will
start there, Perry.
I will give Matt all the credit in the world. He beat me. And I'm blaming our team, Matt. I'm blaming the Texans. Watson ended up putting up a fairly decent fantasy game, but there is no doubt in my mind that in years to come, I will never draft as heavily Texans as I did this year.
You picked a bad year. That's all I'm going to say. Our wide receiver core is depleted. If we had Hopkins, way different.
Is that nonsense?
I don't know. We just fired our GM and head coach because he did that crap. That's.
But you got to win. You got to win out of it. I lost him.
I got my first win. I keep talking about it. I keep scoring a tremendous amount of points and keep running into the bandsaw of the league leader every single time. So,
how are you shaping
where we are?
Who are you playing this week?
No, I have to look at it. I haven't even checked anything. I'm so behind.
Wait, here's an important thing. Kristy, she finally won a fantasy football game. Kristy, congratulations. You deserved it. You've been doing your homework, and it finally happened.
That's it. Listen, it's a long haul sometimes. Again, I understand Kristy.
Especially this year
is just crazy with the way everything's like. Games are getting counted for different weeks. This year is just out the window.
I think it shows that this year is out the window when I've hit the point where I'm starting a giant.
Is it Devonta Freeman? Is that giant? Did he not even start as a giant this year? Yeah, I know.
I've been holding on to him for 2-3 weeks now, but the time has come. I'm starting him in both leagues. I have so many. No. This is another thing I regret. I have so many of the same players in both leagues that I've kind of sealed my fate in both of them.
I know. I did the same, but yeah, you're good with Freeman. He's finally learned the Giants playbook, so you're good there.
I don't even know.
Who knows? All
right, guys, we're gonna wind this down. If you have any last minute questions you want to get in, we're open
anything.
to
Ask us any. Wait, I have a question for Andrew Lassane. When are my shoes done? Comment in the chat.
And Andrew posted this terrible photo of me from Comic-Con, whether it was last
I saw you right after that. I actually remember that.
Like hunched over. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, stand up. Like, my mom tells me about my posture all the time. Did I learn nothing? Apparently in that photo.
I met you right after that photo, which was hilarious. Like, I saw Andrew post that, and I was like, oh shit, I know exactly when that was, because we met up right after that.
I am not telling that story live on the air, but that was a day. That was a day.
Monster Hunter.
Did you watch it? I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's Paul W.S. Anderson doing another video game adaptation starring Mila Jovovich and giant monsters. I'm okay with it. I'm kind of okay with it.
I got some serious catching up to do on trailers. I feel like there were a lot of really big trailers released, and I was just like so buried in interview nonsense that I didn't pay any attention to it.
I mean, Monster Hunter is exactly what you think it is.
Here's a question you should answer, Matt. What's your social security number?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
You know what I was trying to figure out, actually? I was watching a movie the other day where they do say a character's social security number, and you know how the beginning of fake phone numbers are always 555?
Yeah.
Is there a fake 3-digit start to movie, like,
I've never thought about that.
Okay, social security numbers?
Probably. I bet you there is. What is this?
I feel like it was like 073 or something.
Andrew's trying to start trouble in the chat. I returned your Jordans, and I'm making shoes for Perry instead. I expect my Venmo return then as well, Mr. Lassane. Also, no tip for you.
I was really sad the other day. We went to a shoe store because someone in my family needed shoes, and my dad was there, and he's like, "Let me buy you some shoes." I'm like I do, like, I like shoes. You know, I have a lot of sneakers, and I would really like a pair of shoes, but what am I gonna do with them? Like, I don't want shoes.
I want to like wear a suit again. I just want a reason to wear a suit. I don't like.
I'm like not at the getting dressed up to go to a premiere type thing. I just want a reason.
No, neither. I never am.
I want a reason to put on shoes that's not going to physical therapy. That's what I want.
Yeah, man. I wear shoes maybe like once. Well, I just want to go for runs once a day. That's it.
All right, here's a good question to answer from Horizon Brave. Is Merri coming back for 4-year consideration this year? We don't know what the exact plan is just because award season is so uncertain, but we are talking about at least what will be an episode coming in the near future, hopefully timed to the release of Mang. So we're working on it. We're having discussions. We just don't have any kind of firm plan in place right now because things are confusing. All right.
That's a good point. Any reason can be a reason to wear a suit.
Oh.
Should I suit up for Oh, sorry. Oh, my bad now.
I feel like there's gonna be a point where you attend a virtual premiere and just put on a suit. No,
if I am home, I will always be in a tank top. You can guarantee that.
I'm very good at getting like super dressed from the waist up, but still wearing sweatpants or like sleep shorts or something like that.
If I'm in this vicinity, you're just getting this. This is it. It's the best you're getting.
Sleeveless. All right. Here's one. Did either of you watch season 1 of The Outsider? Stephen King seemed to unofficially announce a second season. I did watch it, and I love that book. I like the season quite a bit. I was very attached to that book, too. That was that's one of those book-to-film adaptations where I was worried that my love for the book was going to make me dislike the series no matter what, but that cast is so good. One of the elements of that show that really impressed me, too, was, oh, my God. Like, why can't I think of her name right now? Holly Gibney in the show. Cynthia
I didn't watch it. Sorry.
Who I absolutely love. Bad Times at the El Royale and a million other things.
Fantastic.
But anyway, I really loved what they did with the Holly character in Mr. Mercedes. And it was, even though I'm a big fan of Cynthia's, I was very sensitive about the idea of getting another actor playing that role so soon. But she made it her own while still upholding the pillars of that character that Stephen King created. And the fact that she did that really surprised me, and I was so impressed by her, and I can't wait, hopefully, if we get more of this thing. I haven't really looked into the comments regarding a second season, but I'm open to anything in the Stephen King universe.
The Kingiverse.
Kingiverse. Do people actually call it that?
No, I just did.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised. It seems like a very like natural, easy thing to refer to it as.
It's my go-to. I just make things very natural and easy. I just don't like complications.
I think I'm all for that. I have a big question for you, Matt.
Oh God, what?
What do you have planned for Halloween? Like, how are you going to celebrate to keep the Halloween spirit alive?
Like, I am so inundated with work right now, just trying to get to the end of the month. There's so, you know what I do. Like, there's so much to do. So
you do.
I'll probably.
You have to do something that isn't work related to celebrate Halloween.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'll definitely try to carve out like a movie marathon, maybe, and just. I mean, it's going to be comfort. Okay, here's okay. For you, what is your go-to like non-Halloween horror movie to watch? I have a horror movie that I just have to watch every Halloween, but I don't think people would consider it a Halloween horror movie.
The first thing that came to my mind as you started that question was my feelings about Nightmare Before Christmas. That I think it's a Halloween movie and it's a Christmas movie, and for me, it's a year-round movie. But as far as horror movies that aren't necessarily associated with Halloween, the holiday,
like we watch Trick or Treat, like of course, like we watch the Halloween one. But I know, but like, what's the like? Do you have one? Because I have one off the top of my head that I watch every Halloween because I just love it and I need a spooky, scary story. But it's not particularly.
My top two for Halloween are always Hocus Pocus and Trick or Treat, no doubt. But I do feel like usually around Halloween Day, I usually find time to rewatch Killer Clowns from Outer Space and and then and also Poltergeist. I'm very, very obsessed with that first Poltergeist movie. That was one of the first horror movies I ever saw. And there's a couple.
That's awesome.
There's a couple of visuals from that movie that are seared into my brain for life. And now
still just a giant.
That and there's a lot from Poltergeist too. Like the tequila thing, the braces thing. There's a lot. But I love all the kitchen stuff in Poltergeist, the first one.
I've made it a new, like, I just, over the last, like, however long since it's come out, I think it's at least, like, 8 years at this point. No, maybe around there. The Evil Dead remake is just one of my go-to Halloween movies. It just fits everything I want out of a Halloween watch. So I always start some kind of, like, marathon with it.
I think that's a really good choice. Andrew's got a good recommendation and a partial refund, Matt.
So good. Oh, you're only all right. Good. We're like 98. Sorry, we're 98% away.
Saw Sea Fever. It's great. Andrew, I'm so with you. I can't recommend Sea Fever enough. That was one of my favorite movies from TIFF of last year, and it's still one of my favorite. So again, I was looking at that best of 2020 list, and Sea Fever is pretty high up on my list. I mean, like, dare I say, all right, I'm going to say that it's probably, I can tell you right now because I'm looking at the list, it is in my top 10, but I haven't updated this list in the past 2 months.
Yeah, I got to do a whole revamp because I have all my stuff jotted down. I haven't organized it. I know my tops right now are like Get Duked, Palm Springs, and I forget what like
Palm Springs is my number 3 at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely top 3 for me right now.
I also just want to tell everybody, it's almost time for a very dewy Halloween, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's like how do I top Do Bader Ginsburg? And
it's hard. It's hard to top that.
Mountain Dewy, but I think I don't know. I can't. I can't top some of that. But I do think I've come up with something that can join the ranks of those two.
Yeah, we got a super chat.
Ian. What's up, Ian? How you doing? All right. Picking my movie for tomorrow. Should I watch Chopping Mall or Slumber Party Massacre? Also watched Spontaneous earlier this week. So good. Yes.
So good.
More love for Spontaneous out in the world, please.
I have an easy answer here. So Perry, what's yours?
That's a good question, actually.
I have an easy answer, and I don't think it's.
What's your answer? And I might
Slumber Party. I think Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2. Like, if you can do that, Ian, if you can cram both in the same night, it's not that hard. They're pretty short for like movie standards. Slumber Party. That's my vote, and try to follow it up with 2 immediately. It's a great back-to-back. Chopping Mall is fine. I love Me a Bee Movie. It's not one of my favorite like midnighters. I gotta be honest.
I think I was leaning towards Chopping Mall, but it might be because I think Barbara Crampton is like hands down.
I agreed. I love her.
Planet.
Hold on. You need to put up Andrew's last comment.
Andrew.
That has to be a thing.
Okay.
It has to. I don't care how you get it done. Has to be a thing.
All right. I need to work on this, but I feel like I can do it. Dewey's a good sport. Dewey's a good sport. He's also like, was it you that was texting me or somebody else? Oh no, it was Darina. Do you follow Kate Beckinsale on Instagram?
I should. I know her antics are hilarious.
Oh
I don't.
My God, she is like an utter delight.
Is wild.
Out there needs someone to like bring joy to your life through Instagram, please follow Kate Beckinsale. But anyway, she posted a video of one of her, I believe a dog with a spider costume on, and Dorina sent me and said I had to do it to Dewey. The problem is when I put a costume on Dewey, he will sit with it on for a picture, but he can't move in it. It's like the second I put something on him, he just like goes rigid and just sits there. Or like flops over and just lays there, but like he won't actually move with it on.
Kate Beckinsale is a weirdo, man. Like she, like in a good way, not like she's one of those celebrities that just lives her life and just does the weirdest stuff.
That's why I love following.
It's a great follow. Yeah, it's a great follow.
I can't get enough of it.
Her and like January Jones. Isn't January Jones really good at Instagram too?
Really?
Like she posts all these crazy, like there's one picture where she's just like holding a tarantula, just like looking at it face, like all this weird shit, just like going off the rails. It's just crazy stuff.
You know what I kind of love, but it's also driving me nuts about my Twitter right now. You know when you clear your cache in your web browser, and then you start like on another page, like within. Like if I looked up somebody's Instagram first, and I always look up my interview subjects on Instagram because I can get, question ideas from them. So my Instagram keeps opening up to Tania Miller from Bly Manor. And I'm like, I'm kind of okay with it, but I do want to
if I have to.
But anyway, I feel like right now my Instagram is filled with mostly Bly Manor things, but I really do love when Kate Beckinsale pops up.
It's good. It's good stuff.
It's actually the best stuff. Like
it's like isn't she in a giant inflatable penis costume in one of them?
I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
Yeah, she's great. She's amazing. Well, she's also in panda costumes. Another with like Michael. And she also
very kooky sense of humor that I enjoy.
It's so phenomenal. Now I'm like, why don't I follow her? I feel like I've made a grave life decision.
Really, why don't you follow her?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it right now.
You should, because I feel like there's been enough talk around this in our friends Slack channel that you should have done it months ago, if not years.
Look at this cute little fuck. Look at that guy.
It's
great.
That's
great.
Costume. Oh, was it her cat? Her cat was wearing.
Cat.
That's the costume. I just feel like if I put that costume on Dewey, he would just flop over.
But you have to read the comments she writes too, because she'll post the most absurd picture and then the most thoughtful comment under it, and it's again art. It is art.
I'm all for this.
All right, let's go down the rabbit hole. All right,
we're doing it. We're taking off. All right, we're out of here.
Let's call it. I got whiskey to drink.
On to the next adventure for Friday night. I hope you guys had fun.
Do you notice it's getting darker now in LA earlier?
We're not in your apartment right now.
I didn't set my light up because I thought we'd have more time. But yeah, I need to start using lights now because it's getting darker earlier.
Yeah. Oh, it's getting darker earlier, right? It gets darker earlier, and I feel like it's getting harder to get out of bed in the morning.
That's just life.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's just life.
It also might be Dewey being in bed and demanding that I not move and I don't disturb him.
All right, let's call it.
We're out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching this edition of the Merri Hour. Tune back in next Friday because guess what? The beer pong competition continues. Kristy and I right now, we're 2 for 2. Matt, you getting nervous?
No, not really, because I know why.
I wish I was quick enough to have ended the broadcast so it was like, Matt, you getting nervous? And then it just cut out.
Yeah, no, as Red Hood reminds, this counts as an automatic Toronto win, by the way. So just validating that.
Who makes that rules? You do not, Red Hood.
He does. Red Hood does. He rules the chat.
Just hush, Red Hood. We're not doing this right now.